All right, guys. Welcome to another live show with us here at Combat Ready Fire Training. Tonight, we're here to talk about the probationary firefighter process. This is something that myself and some of the other guys were kind of kicking around, some things we wanted to talk about on the show. And I think many of us can relate to the idea that it's kind of like a fire, right? Like as the first line goes, so goes the fire. I think you can say the same thing about people's career when we talk about their probationary period or their recruit training. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about tonight. So we're going to kind of break this conversation down to about three different parts. We're going to start by talking a little bit about the recruit school. And specifically in our department, we do the initial recruit school, which is like your basic firefighter 1 and firefighter 2 stuff. That's not really what we're going to talk about tonight. What we're going to talk about is the lateral portion of our recruit school, and that's where we really teach basically the street smart skills that we all really use on the Fireground. So we'll talk a little bit about some ups and downs and things and processes that we've learned in delivering that stuff, and then we're going to talk a little bit about our probationary firefighter process. We do have a structured process that all of us are familiar with, but I'm going to be talking with Jake and Lambus about some of the things that they're doing on their apparatus, because both of them have been dealing with a bunch of new firefighters lately, and I think that's always a learning curve for not only the new firefighter, but for the officer that's mentoring them. And then at the end of the show, we're going to kind of throw out some, I guess, specific tips, thoughts, lessons learned, whatever you call it, for the probationary firefighter themselves. You know, for those that are listening that just got on the job or that are just about to get on the job, we'll kind of give you some tips and some things to do and some things not to do, and maybe some lessons learned from our own experiences. So that's kind of what we're getting into on the show tonight. So joining me tonight, I got Jake Richardson and Christian Lambus, both work here at Salisbury with me, and we'll kind of just get right into it. So Jake, Lambus, obviously you guys have both been involved in the academy process now, I think, for a number of years. Mm-hmm, yeah. And again, just to kind of give everybody listening a bit of a lay of the land, the way we hire people, there's kind of two tracks of people that are hired, right? So you have people that really don't have any firefighting experience. They probably don't have the actual certification of firefighter 1 or 2 or whatever. And in our area, we have a partnership with the community college system where people go and they get the certification class. And to be honest, our department has a limited role in the delivery of that. The community college handles that. But then everybody, whether you had no experience or once you graduate that initial certification program, everybody goes through our lateral firefighter process. And that is really, I guess, what is it up to now, Jake? Because I probably should know that, right? 6 weeks?
Yeah, 4 to 6 weeks.
4 to 6 weeks, mm-hmm. Kind of depending on the class size, but it's kind of broken up into specific modules where we have experienced firefighters from the floor that are instructing that class. And the focus there is really the actual firefighting tasks and skills that we're really doing on the real fires. So you kind of, Jake, you kind of came through that process when you got hired. Mm-hmm. And now you've been, one of the instructors in that process. What are your thoughts on that? How is it working? What have we done well? What have we done poorly? What are your thoughts on that?
One thing that I think we've done extremely well is whenever you go through the legit academy that we run, is you might not, if you don't come out with anything, one thing you're going to come out with is discipline. And I think if you come out with discipline, especially as a probationary firefighter, you can go so much, further in your career than people that just come in and they just want a paycheck, right? So one thing that we hone on in the academy is discipline, discipline, discipline. We go through everything we go through. We explain why we're going through it, what we're going through, and how we're going to get through it. To where, in a lot of normal academies, you just go, you do a drill or two, you go do the Denver drill, you get the guy out of the box and you pass. Mm-hmm. Well, these academies is a lot more, we put a lot more investment in it. Me and Lambus were both on the academy committee, so we kind of build a good structured plan. We have a big part in helping that. build a good plan for it, and then we just go out and execute it. And the key title to that is discipline. That's one thing we preach, and that's one thing that we do because it makes the performers perform.
Yeah, I think a big key with that too is not only that discipline, but I think one of the things I want guys to focus on is the attention to detail, right? I'm a big fan of that mindset that how you do anything is how you do everything. And so whether it's guys putting up the flag in the morning or whether it's how they lay out their gear, like when they're not in their PPE, how they lay their gear out on the apparatus floor or stuff like that, I think that, it's a big key to start them off on the right foot there. And I hope that what we're doing there in the academy is showing up when they get to you guys on the floor on the fire truck.
100%. And I think that goes such a long way. Just, I worked a hire back a couple shifts ago with Lambus's crew, and his firefighter now is someone that is, he come through our academy. And you could tell, like when I got to the firehouse that morning, his firefighter squared away. Everything's good. His gear's been at the truck since 6:45 that morning. Like he's just sitting there waiting on a run. And you can tell like the longevity of that pays off.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll never forget. I think I probably said it on more than one show. What's his name came out of the academy and like a month later told everybody, he's like, man, I was pretty sure based on the academy I was going to use my bailout kit every day.
William Robbins. Yep.
And you know what, I'm like, shit, that is exactly what I want people to think, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly how we want them to think. We want them to be game on. So well, Lambus, you're involved in that in the academy process also.
Yeah.
I know you've done a few different classes now. How's that's going? What are you guys doing? What's up with that?
I'll tell you what's working really good is finding exactly who needs to be instructing certain topics and certain skill tasks. So like Jake, ventilation, ladders, all that sort of stuff. Captain Burgess, search, Captain Clark, forcible entry, but just having people who are passionate about each thing. Like we all want to be well-rounded, but you always dive into those things you're passionate about. And if you can get those guys in front of the class, hopefully, the recruits take just a little bit of that passion from each subject.
Yeah.
And then just to piggy on what Jake said, like setting the mindset right when they're in recruit school. This last one especially, like we were given a little bit more freedom of how it was going to be structured. And all of the recruits I've seen come out, I've worked hire backs and everything in shift trades, and they're all, you can tell. So
yeah. Well, that's a big thing. I think, discipline in the recruit school is a big thing. I think a lot of departments that can get out of hand sometimes. And I know one of the discussions we had, getting up to this is making sure nobody gets in trouble or anything like that is like, maintenance of discipline in the firehouse or in the recruit schools, like, for better or worse, it ain't 1980 anymore. The things of the past, that were then in the past were maybe rites of passage. They now fall into the category of harassment and hazing, and nobody can have that. And so I think we all kind of had that conversation. Look, it's just matter of fact. It's business. Here's the expectation. Here's what you're supposed to do. Here is the definition of what it looks like to pass this, or to be successful at this. And at the end of the day, you either did or you didn't. And I don't need to call you names. I don't need to hurt your feelings. There's a form I'll fill out, and that gets documented.
Yep.
And if you're not successful, then you probably won't continue. But at the end of the day, it just doesn't have to be a big emotional deal. It's just it's just business.
Yep.
And I mean, was that successful? Kind of doing that like that?
Yeah, I would say this is one of the best run ones we've had.
Several years, this has definitely been one of the best ones, and you can see there's not. I've got to work on all three shifts with shift trades and hire back since this academy graduated, and there's not. Me and Captain Bird was talking about it the other day. There's not a bad one that's come out of this class, because if you'll go through what you're going to be put through and you buy into the program that we're offering, you're going to stay.
Yeah.
Right. You're going to get more advanced people come out of it, and you're going to get more people that want to be there, because that's what I've always said about these academies. When I went through my academy, it was a real academy like we're running now. I'm going on 8 years being there now. It's because everything you work for in the academy, you just don't want to just let it all go,
Right. Yep. So how about, after the academy, right? So what does it look like? What does it look like, to get a successful recruit coming out of this academy, right? I mean, I would imagine. Do you know on day one when you get them? Like, do you know if that's a good recruit?
Yeah.
Yeah,
on day
yeah.
one? Okay, so
First impressions.
First,
Everything.
yeah.
please let's keep any names or identifying factors out of this. But like, how do you know? How do you know if they're good on day one?
It's just the way they present themselves.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I think anyone that's been in the firehouse, you can just tell when that new guy walks in and the way they're holding themselves. Like, if they've got the right idea what's going on here. You know, difference between working here or Bojangles. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know. Just the way they talk, the way they hold themselves.
Yeah.
The way they present them, like he said, the way they present themselves is something I think that's huge. Like, you know, whenever we got our first Proby in after this academy, like he showed up to work early. He'd come up, his gear was on the truck, and he said, "What would you like from me, sir?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he's gonna have that dog in him." You know?
Yeah. And it's the questions and stuff. Like they don't come in and they're like, "Oh, well, I made it to the fire truck now, so I'm good." It's like, "Hey, what's your expectations of me? You know, can you please show me this and that?" It's
the eagerness to learn. Like you can tell, like the Proby on our shift on my truck and Captain Burgess's truck, he's wanting to ask questions. He's always asking questions. You know, it was last night we worked, and it's like 11 p.m. and he's like, "Can we go do some more search training?" And I was like, "Yeah, be glad to."
yeah.
Well, so I'm sure there's going to be a mixed answer to this, or it's not a black and white answer. But in general, who ends up being the better probationary firefighter? Somebody that had previous experience or that has no previous experience?
No experience. Easy.
Why do you say that? Because it's counterintuitive, right? I mean, you would think.
I guess it depends. Like you get some guy who's really on a busy company and whatever comes in, but then they're more keen to challenge your specific things on your truck or your department.
Like if they came from somewhere else?
Yeah, and I've seen plenty of good laterals, and I know plenty of good laterals, but I think when you get them green, and when their first idea of the fire department was your recruit school and now your fire truck, they're just a moldable figure.
Is their skill performance better if they had no experience?
Not at the start.
Like, I mean, I get there's probably there's probably a difference. Like, okay, you could probably look at that question from like an attitude perspective, and you could probably look at that from a skill perspective.
Yeah.
So, what do you think?
I'm with him. I think if you get them brand new, you can train them how you want. Now, we've had some really good lateral people come in that bought into exactly what we was doing, but you know, it's kind of like I think of a lot about, like, this sounds bad, but like my dog. If I got my golden retriever from anywhere else, he's got trainings from those other people, so he's not going to do what we're wanting to do in my house.
Yeah.
You know, he's got to break those bad habits. You know, kind of same thing. Yeah, so I think I've seen better successful people that come in brand new, you know, never been in the fire service. They think it's a cool job. They come in and they just fall in love with it. But, you know, there's another side to that. I've seen some really good laterals. So, you know, I'm kind of up in the air with it.
I think, too, if a lateral comes in and his task stuff is different, like how he cuts a vent hole or something, then he can fall back into that easier than our way. You know, but a new guy, it's like the first vent hole he ever cut on a vent prop was the way we do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
One good thing about getting someone lateral in is they come in. We've had this happen when Lambus was on our truck. Is we get a lateral come in and we're training them, and then he shows, like, he does his way, and I'm like, oh wait, let us show you our way.
yeah.
You know, and then they see how we're doing, like, oh, that makes perfect sense. So you can kind of show them there's better tactics or easier tactics out there to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
you know, how about the process, right? Because, you know, obviously we have a structured probationary process. That's been a big thing for me over the years. I mean, I think back to when I worked in Fairfax City, Virginia in the early 2000s. I was a lateral hire there, no academy, right onto the truck. I mean, but not really onto the rig right away. I had to do like a 2-week in-house process, but there was a probationary packet for that. You know, when I got hired in the District of Columbia, you know, there was a big 6-month probation that everybody went through. And that was really a big inspiration for me. I thought it was a great idea. I thought it worked really well. And, you know, being at Kentland at the time, I took it to Kentland, and myself and some others, put together the first rookie book, which I'm actually looking at the first rookie book that we made here, which looks like it was made in about May of 2005, if my records are correct. And I know it's evolved. I have the 2012 revision here, and I know they have more up-to-date revisions since I've left. But I think that really caught on a lot in the fire service, and other places have done it. I implemented that then in Columbia. We're doing it here in Salisbury. And I think everybody's rookie books are probably a little bit different, right? I mean, as they should be, depending on the department and their operations and everything like that. But you guys obviously know what the book is. You guys have been through it, and now you're administering it. You both have rookies. Do you still have a rookie on Engine 1?
No, sir. Not
You just did, though, a month or two ago.
Yep.
And then you have one. You have a fresh one on Lateral 1, right? So why don't you guys kind of talk a little bit about, I know what the rookie book looks like on paper, but you guys are administering it in the firehouse. Like, talk a little bit about that process.
Yeah. So it's a set booklet where each month there's different questions and practical skills and even street tests that they begin diving into. But my biggest thing with it that works out really well is it's the very basics of everything. Like, you need to know these certain things in order to do the bare minimum on the fire truck. But each one opens up, depending on the company and depending on who's instructing, each one opens up you diving into everything. Okay, you got to do the roll 2, cut 3 vent hole. Okay, well, now we're having a full day of vent training, just for the recruit. And then, department policy stuff, it gets them all situated with that. But it works really well to have a structured booklet to go through each and everything. And then they're tested at the end of each month on all the questions, all the practicals, and the street test. And they have to get 100%. So,
one thing I really like about our rookie books is it kind of helps get you street smart, right? So I think there's a big problem in the fire service of the way that we get, the firefighter 1 and 2 checked off. Mm-hmm. You get checked off for burn building runs and cutting plywood and stuff. The way that we have our probationary firefighter books laid out, it's real life stuff, so you're gaining some street knowledge, which I think is the most important thing for a probationary firefighter to gain is street knowledge. That burn building is only going to get you so far. I was working a shift trade like a few months ago, and we had a brand new guy on there. And I remember we had a good shift where we had like a fire, shooting, a CPR, and then a pin-in. And he come up to me later, and he was like, "Is this normal?" And I was like, "Welcome to the streets, my boy." This ain't no burn building out here, And so I think our probationary book it's done a phenomenal job of preparing people for more of the street side of thing instead of the NFPA, firefighter 1 and 2 book kind of thing, because there's obviously a huge difference.
Yeah.
The burn building's not the ghetto.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think the interesting thing about our process, the way we run it, is there's not really an answer key for that book. Like, there's not an answer key hidden, on the file center somewhere or anything like that. Because I know I did that intentionally because I knew it would happen. If there was an answer key, the answer key is gonna get leaked, and then people will just study the answer key.
It's just like high school.
And exactly. I've seen this movie before. You know what I'm saying?
Played it.
And then people are just going to study for the test. And so, like, the real design of the rookie book process, every one that I've ever been involved in has been that it's like a scavenger hunt, right? Is like you're given this list of knowledge and skills that you have to go obtain, and it is your job as the probationary firefighter to go find it out. Yeah. And some of it is going to be self-initiative. Go read a book, go read a policy, and you'll find some answers. But a lot of it is going to be you have to go talk to your crew.
Yep.
And if you don't and if you don't go talk to your crew, you're not going to figure it out. Yep. And so it kind of really facilitates, whatever you want to say, but it causes there to be that interaction between the probationary firefighter and not just the captain, but the whole crew, right? And it's kind of the whole takes a village to raise a child, kind of mentality there. But I think that's a two-way street, right? I want the probationary firefighter to have to show initiative in going to the senior man, going to the captain, going to the engineer, or whoever, and getting the information. But I also want the captain to have to give information, right? You know, probationary firefighters are not the only people who need to be learning and who need to be engaged in the process. Everybody on the rig should be taking the time to teach the rookie, right? Everybody on the job complains about shitty new people. Yep. And the first question you got to ask yourself is, if they work for you and they're shitty, who are we really looking at? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You guys know I'm a big fan, you know, of people exist in the environment they're allowed to exist in. And you know, if somebody shouldn't be able to get off probation and not know what they're doing, they shouldn't pass. But I think there's a big thing to making sure that there's a two-way street there where people have to participate in that discussion. And kind of the other thing with it too is, you know, our rookie book is broken up by specialties, right? Like, so month one is kind of all around general department knowledge, right? Then you go to the engine company, you know, then you go to the ladder company, then you go to the rescue company and the RIT stuff, and then you have your comprehensive test as month 6. So that also not only forces just interaction with your company, but like when it comes to rescue month, you better go out. You got to go out to the rescue, right? And when it comes to ladder month, if you're on an engine, you got to be involved in the ladder. You know what I mean? And there's stuff in there about that. They have to go ride certain shifts, certain number of shifts on those apparatus. But how does that all work out? I mean, in reality, on the floor, in terms of that scavenger hunt and all that kind of thing.
In my opinion, it makes these guys want it so much more. Like, it keeps them invested in it because, like, I'm one of the people checked off. Me and Captain Burgess on our shift is like, sometimes I have to give the month 6 test, and like, you know, you'll see them. You know, they might fail it one time, and then they leave that office. Like, I've seen people cry for failing it because it means that much to them. And then as soon as they pass it, man, that shirt there's buttons flying everywhere. Like, they're just ripping that blue shirt off. So I think, you know, it's really made these people. You can tell who's invested and who's not, because you're going to see whenever they bring you the book, well, some people will come and they have all their answers and everything written down and detailed. You can tell that they've been trained on this, right? Yeah. And then some people, they just come up there and it's just, you know, chicken scratch over here. And that's when you're like, you need to review it. And that's when you or someone else has a conversation with that officer. Yeah. One good thing about these Proby books, too, is it not only is good to, you know, get the Proby trained, but it'll call out a bad company in a quick second. Yeah. Have people gotten that message, do you think? That if your rookie doesn't do well, it's not the rookie who's going to get questioned? Yeah. Ugly kids, ugly parents. Yep. Yeah. If the captain is, I mean, so for people that don't know, you know, typically the people giving the exam are the shift training officer. Mm-hmm. And, you know, so if another captain sends a recruit to go test, and it's clear that person has no business taking that test, it's the probationary firefighters captain that's going to face the questions about that, and that's in policy. Yeah. You know, that's in policy there, that captain would then actually have to write a memo, basically describing what they have and haven't done, and what's going on with this here. What was that?
No, and I take pride in that. Like, I think I'm more scared when my Proby is testing than he is. Same. Because I sit there and I'm like, he is a direct reflection of me. Yeah. You know, and I'm like, he better do good. Yeah. I showed him these things. And just one thing about like how it goes and how they have to find the information on their own and everything. My rookie knows all the questions in his book can be found directly word for word in policies. And I've shown him where to find all our policies. So he has to go and do it all on his own, and then he brings me them all filled out, and then together we deep dive into them. What's wrong? What's right? This is a little bit more into this that the policy doesn't completely say.
Yeah, that's what I love about it is you go find the answer, bring it to me, and I'll explain the answer. Yep. Right? Find the answer and let me explain it to you. Yep. Because I'm going to train you on whatever this answer is to where you understand the why and the how we're doing things this way.
And it shows ownership. Like, if you just sat with the guy and gave him all the answers, what's he really...
Yeah, he's not going to get nothing.
Yeah, and he knows it.
Yeah.
He knows whether you taught him or whether you just told him, look, here's the answer. Yep. You know what I'm saying? Like, they know it. Do you think, does having that, I mean, because we have a lot of rookies, right? We get a lot of probation, a lot of new guys. But I think that's the thing in the fire service now is I think... in most firehouses, they're getting a new guy pretty often. You know, I think that's just us. So is having these probationary firefighters in the firehouse and having that rookie book that they have to go through, I mean, which is a 6-month long process, how does that affect company training? Like because at the end you got a new guy, but you also have a regular company.
Yep.
Right. And you have other things you want to do. You have senior guys that want to progress and want to go to the next level, or you might have another guy who's working on becoming checked off as a ladder driver or an engine driver or whatever. So how does the presence of a rookie and having to do this process, how does that affect the overall company level training?
The biggest thing I say there is you're at the firehouse for 24 hours, some even 48.
Yeah.
So you find the time for both. And if I've got so my senior guy, I'm training him on the OV side. He's always rode irons. While he's training on OV side, the rookie is going to be a part of it, and it's just going to be extra on top of what he's learning for his process. And then something we've done with this rookie, and what I like to do is, the whole company has to do it, is every shift we're picking a compartment, and we've started on the captain side of the truck. Every shift is a different compartment, and we pull out every single piece of equipment, and we drill on every single piece of equipment. And that's how he's learning, not only, the can's right there, but no, this is the whole thing about the can. And my rookie has to print out the user manuals for every single piece of equipment and read the entire thing. And it's just making them even better. Yeah. But the whole company is a part of that. It isn't the kid sits on the apparatus floor doing it by himself. We're all a part of it.
I think I just went through that whenever, my guy was on probation. I had one guy on probation. I had one guy trying to be checked off to be an acting captain. So, I have to split the day up.
On the same rig?
On the same rig. My drivers want to be an acting captain. My firefighter is on,
trying to be a firefighter.
Trying to be a firefighter, So, and they're both coming to me. It's like, who gets the better Christmas present, Yeah. You kind of got to divvy it out, and that's how I kind of went about it. But you also got to know, you get a brand new firefighter, you're only as good as what he is. Mm-hmm. That's why I think it keeps our guys so invested, because if you're riding a 3-man engine or a 3 or 4-man truck, you're only as good as your weakest link. Mm-hmm. We've all tried the cowboy fires and all this other stuff. You're only as good as the worst person there.
Right.
So I think that's what makes this so great is we get to bring our lowest person, that skill level, up substantially. And that's how we do so great at fires.
Yeah.
How has that been different for you? Because you've spent 90% of your career here on the truck, right? Your official position is a engineer on Lateral 1, but you've been the acting captain on the engine for 8 months.
It's a long time.
I mean,
too long.
A while.
Too long, brother.
Right. And so you've run at least one firefighter through probation on the engine. Mm-hmm. So how is that different for you compared to, you're used to being the driver of the truck? Mm-hmm. So how's that different? Was it different?
It really wasn't different for me. Me and Captain Burgess, who's my captain on Ladder 1, we have such a great relationship. We kind of took these new guys and everything in together. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was a very smooth transition. I kind of run it the same exact way. On day one, you let them know the expectations. You let them know what you're about, and you pretty much you tell them real quick what not to do, right? And then you start hitting that packet. So for me, it was a very easy transition, because I just felt like I've been doing it for the last 4 or 5 months with other new guys.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that kind of brings up a good point too. Is I know that there are people in the department that specialize, right? There are people that they're really into the truck, they're really into the engine, they're really into the rescue or whatever. But I think at some level, it's okay that people have their passion or that they have their area of expertise, but everybody in the department, especially if you're a captain, everybody in the department has to be an expert on what's in the rookie book.
Yep.
It is 6 months of stuff that anybody needs to know to be able to ride on any of the 3 types of apparatus that we have. Yep. Right. And, it's just like we talk about all the time. I mean, you might be on the truck for 8 years of your career and you're like, what do I need to know about running the 300? Right. I drive a ladder truck. Well, everybody works trades.
That's right.
Everybody works overtime. everybody gets floated out or detailed every once in a while, and it's like the fire that we did a while when you and Carricker were on the engine. It's like, two rescue guys driving the engine first due on a good fire. Like, you can't be like, well, this is not really my forte, I'm gonna grab a rope, you know what I mean, or something like that. Everybody has got to be an expert at the basics, no matter what your specialty passion is. I think that's a big thing.
Got to be well rounded in all of it.
Yeah, and with this whole transition, I've been really lucky. Like I had a gangster as a firefighter, so like it was very, he was wanting to do all the right things, and we would do like a lot of different outside of the box trainings. Like, one day we would focus on stretching 600-foot attack lines, and then one day we're doing standpipe stuff. So I had while he was in probation, he got the stretching the cross lane stuff down. So now once he got that down, now he's wanting to advance himself and doing more complex stuff.
So what are, you guys have been on the rig either as backstep firefighters or, up to your current positions, and seen more than one probationary firefighter come through. How about from the person, forget about the probationary firefighter themselves. How about the crew that is supposed to be teaching them what works, what doesn't work? What did you find success with? What did you find failure with? What would you tell somebody, if they're getting their first probationary firefighter, how to deal with that person?
Good cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Is it like prison rules? Like you gotta like establish dominance early? Or?
I think you have to show the Proby early on who their person to lean on for a lot of it is. Senior men are very important, and if you only ride through on your truck, then your senior man is the engineer. But you got to keep the captain, involved, but also as the higher figure. I don't really know how to put that exactly. Like obviously they're involved in training and all that, but you got to have that guy that they just go to for everything.
It's kind of like they're kind of like the XO, right? They're like the right hand man to the officer. I think most firehouses have something like that. Like in DC, it was the technician, it was the driver. Like you mostly weren't supposed to bother the officer a whole lot. They not that they wouldn't be involved, they were, but the technician or the driver was really the firehouse manager.
That's what I've tried to do with mine.
Yeah, you're playing mom, and you got to keep dad out of it.
Yeah.
You wait till your father gets home.
Yeah, I'm here to teach you how to be a good firefighter and be a good firefighter with you. But when you get mad, dad's coming out.
I think the biggest advice is be a mentor. The fire service is losing mentorship. It really is. Like it's hard to find good mentors now, and
especially in young departments.
Yeah,
it's very hard.
Be that mentor and take pride in it. Like one thing I've just taken so much pride in knowing, like he isn't going to be my Proby forever. He isn't even going to be Irons forever. He's soon going to be behind me as my OV man. VSing, cutting holes with me, and eventually I'm going to make him into a driver, and when I'm riding up as the captain, he's going to be my driver. So I want him to be squared away in all facets.
Yeah. I think that's good. I mean, I think a lot of people can fall into the big dog trap where they think their job is to, like I was joking about, like to establish dominance, let this guy know you're nothing, I'm everything, and that just number one, it just don't work anymore.
Nope.
And number two, you're probably going to get yourself in trouble doing something like that. And number three, that guy ain't learning nothing.
Nope. Or he's not investing in anything that you're offering either. It's like the worst thing you can do is, I've said this before, is when you get a probationary firefighter, when you're doing his training, do the training with him, because you're not just investing yourself to that firefighter. You're getting a company-wide investment. Like you have to be building a relationship while he is in that position. So like when our guys train or something, like we train with, like, we like to train with them. It's like when we used to, go do search training. Well, we would show the Proby how to do it. He would do a run. Then I would do a run. Then Captain Burgess would do a run. And what it shows him is, okay, we're practicing what we preach. We're just not telling you that, we're this, we're that, we do this, we do that. No, we're doing it with you. And it makes the Proby feel, connected and a part of the team as well. So he's going to perform better, and he's going to want to buy in better. If you're just sitting there and you're out there with the binder, and today we're gonna force doors, and then yell at them or blow a whistle at them, then that ain't gonna do nothing, you know.
You get a megaphone.
Yeah, a megaphone, like you have to be a part of it.
Yeah. Well, what are the common problems that you see? Like, okay, if somebody's not doing good, what form, like the probationary firefighter, if the probationary firefighter is not doing well, what are the common reasons that you see why they're not doing well, and what do you do about it?
His crew's not doing well.
Yeah, I don't think you started out with the right thing. So diving into that a little bit, the first day of my Proby, we showed him the truck, we showed him how to set his gear up, talked about the day. We brought him in the office. We, as Lateral 1, make our own Proby book separate from that. You get the department Proby book, but you also get the Lateral 1.
Talk more about that for people who haven't heard about that.
Yes.
Describe that whole thing.
So it's a. I wish I would have brought one.
I should have too. Yeah.
But
I wish you had to.
It's
three of us.
Glad we're all on the same page. It's a book, and it's a letter from each member of the company. Basically, hey, welcome. This is a little introduction, like I'm married with 3 kids, blah, 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 whatever it is. A little bit about yourself, a little bit about the company, welcome. And then it's from years past, each Proby has added to the book. So like I added search stuff and some Mayday stuff. Jake did vent, forcible entry, all sorts of stuff. All that is still in the book.
Is it like written knowledge or pictures or both?
Both. Articles, written. And it's at the end of it, when you make your book for the next Proby, it is, if I was in his seat, what would I wish someone would have taught me or shown me? And you do it, and they're given, and I'm telling you, the book is thick by now.
So do everybody keep their own book at the end of probation?
Oh, yeah.
And so when you say each person has to make a book, they have to make a complete new 3-ring. I've seen them 3-ring binder, probably one or 1.5 inch thick binder. They have to make a whole new one for the next person.
Putting the stuff from your book, you're going to make copies of what's in your book, put it in the next one, add to it, and then each member of the company is going to rewrite their letter. You're going to add your letter, and then one is like, you know, the front is our letters, and then the 4th page is, these are Lateral 1's expectations.
Don't you have something too where they can't wear anything that says Lateral 1 until they go to a fire or something?
That's right. Yeah, we have a rule that you got to go to a fire with us before you can wear anything with us.
Yep. You can't even tell people you're
on
Lateral 1.
If that's not HR approved, then we definitely don't do that. But
I think that's probably one of the most harmless things you could probably have.
It's 2025,
things I've heard.
But I think that's the big, you're talking about, if you can tell they're not doing good, what are you supposed to do? I think you have to start out right. If you didn't sit down with them and make clear expectations, then what are they going to fall back on? They're not going to go, he didn't tell me this was wrong.
You do have to lay out the expectations, but some people do clearly understand the expectation, but they have a problem with like the knowledge, like the mental stuff, you know, or they have a problem with like a skill, like a physical thing, and occasionally we see people who have like a physical strength problem for some of the skills, or I guess, and some of it I think they think is physical strength. Some of it, there are some things that on the job I think that are a physical strength thing, but there are some things that if you don't have the strength, if you tone up your technique, you can make up for the strength issue. So when you have those issues like the mental, the skill, the strength, have you seen those in people, and like what do you do with it?
We had a person who had a physical strength issue, like throwing ladders and stuff. Guess what the thing was for that? The whole company's doing strength training in the gym. We're gonna work out with you. We're gonna get you stronger.
Did it work?
I think it had. I'm not involved with them anymore. But
yeah. That situation has passed the exam and showed that they could do it. Yeah. You know, so
you just have to invest in these people.
Well, I think that goes back to what Jake's saying. If you take somebody like that, it's got a strength issue, and you say, "Man, you're weak. You need to go work out." All right, I'm going to the kitchen to eat my corn dog.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's probably not very inspiring. But like, if you get down, and you say, "We're going to go work out," and you get down in the gym there with them or whatever, then I think you are building that team and that camaraderie. And pressure isn't the right word, but that probationary firefighter, that firefighter you're working on, probably feels a little bit more pressure to get up to speed because they don't want to let the team down. And again,
yeah.
pressure is not the right
100%.
word, but motivation, that's probably a much better word
yeah.
for that.
This sounds
You
a
know?
little psychotic, but we did this on this new Proby's first day. Is, you know, we work out every shift, and he got there, and I planned the workout, me and, you know, my guys on my truck and some guys on the ladder, and I was like, we're going to work out until we puke today. And when we start puking, we can end the workout, but we're going to show him that we're about it.
Is this the one where I came in and Burgess had an IV vac again?
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
But,
He
you know, it
couldn't
set
put
that
his
standard
arms down
that-
to his sides for a week.
Yeah, we're not what we're saying here, like, I think a lot of people think, like, when you're in the academy and they're going through hard times, like, they don't do this. Well, I like it when they come to the fires and they see that we do this.
Yeah.
You know, this is the lifestyle we live and the expectations that we have.
Yeah.
So, but talking about that book, I think the book is a great thing too, because when they're doing their, you know, their months 1 through 6, and they need information about something, we got the policies in that book. You know, all the stuff's in that book.
So it's
that
like a
book
quick reference guide.
That book, I'm telling you, is the guide for the next 6 months of your life. The way we have those built and the way we've progressed building them, that's your lifeline for the next 6 months. You know, it's got your home phone number in it. Like, you can, you know, you get that book and you go through it. There's a lot of personal stuff about you too, so it makes them feel a little more invested. But the book's a great thing, man. It really helps them.
So what is it that makes these guys successful? Like, what is the thing that makes these probationary firefighters successful, aside from like the obvious, like, well, you know, work hard and study hard, you know, aside from that, like, what have you seen, the actions, habits, mindsets, whatever, that makes these people the most successful?
Oh, I have a good one.
Go ahead.
Whenever, this sounds bad, but
Oh boy.
the old boy is right. But I had the best mindset I can see is when someone has a fuck it mindset. I'm telling you, when they come in there like, they're not going to kill me today. I'm going to live, but I will go through whatever has to be done to get through this day. Those probationary firefighters, they excel. When you find out that they won't quit, well, then you can have some fun with them, because you can make them whatever you want to make them.
They would chew their fingers off to do better.
Yes. You see them, we've seen probies. I'm talking about not in the academy. We're talking about probationary firefighters. They've been training all day long. They come in, they've been to EMS getting 2 IV bags, and they're ready for more.
So it's just the motivation.
It's the motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you have that mindset of, I'm going to do whatever it takes to be great.
Yeah.
When you have that mindset as a probationary firefighter, that no matter what is thrown at me today, I'm not worrying about tomorrow. Tomorrow's its own problem. I'm worried about this moment. And I'm worried about getting better in this moment. When you have that mindset, you will be great.
Yeah, you hear that a little bit, and of course, I've never been through anything like this, the BUDS or the SEAL training or any of that stuff. But when you hear people that talk about that high level military training, you know, BUDS, Ranger School, all that kind of special operations kind of stuff, those things are obviously known for these notoriously long workouts where you don't know when the end is coming and all that kind of thing. And that's when I've heard people talk about that. That's kind of what everybody says, is that the trick is to just focus on the now. And just, you know, I'm gonna just keep going through the task that's in front of me, and not get yourself all strung out about, you know, how long is this gonna last? What else are they gonna add? If you do that, you're just gonna fall apart. I mean, it's just kind of just, I'm gonna take whatever they throw at me and I'm gonna move through it. And those are the people that are successful.
And also, too, your crew trusts you. Like we have a probationary firefighter right now at Station 1. You're not going to break him. You can do whatever you want to do. You're not going to break him. He's not going to break. So I know for a fact, if we go to a fire next shift and something bad, it gets squirrely, well, I've got my guy here who's not going to break through nothing. You know, and the investment that he has with us, and now the investment we have with him, is, you know, you can't beat it.
I'll tell you something we told our guy first day. As I said, this is a tryout. Like, you are trying out to ride this truck. You're not assigned to it. And, like, prove yourself. Prove you belong here. And he is. Like,
Oh, yeah. It's great, Proby. I see him every morning.
Yeah.
So what, have you ever had anybody that is not being successful?
Oh, yes, sir.
What,
yes, sir.
What do you do with that?
They take care of their own problem.
They do. Yeah.
They do. They take care of themselves. Every bag of shit gets took to the garbage, and most of the time it takes itself. That's just how it is, and that's what's happened. You get people that come in, they want You know, they want the Chicago Fire stuff they see on TV. They realize it's not like that.
They want the T-shirt.
It gets hard on them. I don't think this is for me, Chief. I'm going to go get a different job. They do that.
I really have seen it just solve itself.
Exactly.
So I guess the $1 million question is then, how do you know when it's them versus when it's you? Like we were all just saying, like, you know, the probationary firefighter is a reflection of us. It's the company's job to bring them up. So obviously there are cases when it's them, and there are cases when it's the company. So how do you know when it's which?
Eagerness.
What do you mean?
Just themselves, like, are they asking questions? Are they wanting to learn?
Yep.
If the crew's crappy and they're not answering correctly or they're not giving them the time of day, then it's the crew, and then the rookie's just in a bad spot. But I'll tell you what I've seen is, like, when I walk in the morning and one of the brand new rookies is sitting at the picnic table on his phone and the irons are a mess, I'm like, that's an individual thing. That's not the company. That guy doesn't care to be here.
And I've had it too. We've seen it go both ways of this, where it is the crew's fault, and we've seen it the other way, where it's just this person just don't care about nothing.
Yeah.
Right. So one thing I'll do, like, you know, I'll never talk bad about another officer, especially to the new guy. But if I see a new guy, hey, how you doing? You know, how's your crew working out for you? And we see it all the time. And they're like, and then you're like, maybe you need to go somewhere else.
We've seen ones like where they're doing terrible because of where they're at, and then they get moved to a spot, and it's like, holy crap, this is one of the best ones we got.
Yeah. So it's really an individual thing. You have to look at, you know, there'll be signs.
Well,
I think you'll see signs.
Have a conversation
Have
with
a
them.
conversation with them.
And I do think, guys, I mean, I've seen, you know, as you guys have, you know, I've seen people that were not very good firefighters, but they had the heart and that they wanted to do it, and it might have taken them a little bit longer. And they might not still be the highest skilled person out there, but you'd take them any day because they have the motivation, you know, higher than a lot of other people. And that's what I've seen is just, you know, this is not rocket science. You do have to be in shape, you know, you do have to be in shape, but you don't have to be an Olympian. Like, if you want to be here and you'll listen and you'll do what people tell you to do, we can teach you what you need to know and show you how to do what you need to do. It's just not that hard. But, you know, I don't want to be the buzzkill headquarters nerd, but just for those that are listening, I'll tell everybody else, you know, what I've told you guys is that if you are facing those problems, and you know, every department's policies are different and everything like that, you have to document that stuff. Number one, if there are any rules, make sure you are following them, right? If there is a probationary firefighter policy, if there is any kind of HR policy, if there's any kind of rule or regulation about what's supposed to be done and how it's supposed to be doing, you make sure you dot those T's, cross those I's, and do exactly what they say. And if somebody is not being successful, you need to document that every time, and you need to be sending that up the chain of command. Because I've seen it a dozen times, and I've told you guys this stuff, is that, you know, when it comes to us, when it gets to headquarters, and everybody's screaming, man, you know, firefighter so-and-so is a piece of junk, they need to go right now. Well, you know, we can't they don't just get terminated that day. These days, people ask questions, you know, and the HRs and all that kind of stuff, they're going to ask questions. They're going to say, well, what do you mean?
Yeah.
You know, and they're going to want to see the paper trail. And if all you've got is, well, I've been working with him for months, he ain't worth nothing. Well, then I'll tell you what, you're going to be working with him for another 6 months because he ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, if you ain't got it, they ain't going to do it.
And the other thing that people do is they break their own rules. They break their own policies, and basically then what you end up with is when you have somebody that is not performing well, that might need to exit the organization, then now when they figure out they're on the chopping block, they're going to throw a flag on the play, and they're going to say, well, my captain wasn't doing this, or it says right here in policy 1, 2, 3, 4, they should have done that, or that this should have been done within this timeline. And as you can see, it wasn't. Yeah. And what that is they just found a lifeline. That is get out of jail free card. And I'm not advocating for that. That sucks, you know, but it is what it is. And, you know, so we've got to make sure that if you're having problems, that you're documenting it, you're talking with your supervisor about it, and don't break any rules.
Yeah.
You know, don't, and certainly don't get yourself in trouble. The other thing we see is people get themselves in trouble. They get so passionate, they get so motivated about this. The officer or the senior firefighter or whatever gets all pissed off, goes off the handle one day, and all of a sudden now, you know, they're in hot water over that. And that's not productive or anything either.
I think where it gets a lot of people in trouble too is one thing that we try to make known to the new guy, and I know Lambus does a very well job of this too, but the moment you first get them, you know, they should know this is the greatest job in the world. It may not be the greatest organization in the world, but it's still the greatest job in the world, right? And you need to buy into that. And once they see that it is the greatest job in the world, then they're not going to want to lose that. They're going to be passionate about that. So that's one thing we do is they see us think that this is the greatest job in the world. So then naturally that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And don't gatekeep that the job is fun too. Like the job
the job is fun.
The job is supposed to, in your probation, it's harder than it is when you're a senior man, engineer, captain, right? Like all this pressure's on you, all that sort of stuff. But like one of the things I've done with my guys, like, man, it's fun that we get to go and smoke cigars on the roof at Station 1. Like we bring him up there and he's like, man, this is so cool. And so don't gatekeep the fun stuff part of the job. Like let them know you have your expectations. You're going to be the hardest working one when it comes to cleaning and training, all that sort of stuff. But like, man, we're here for a good time.
You know, the last shift I worked with y'all, we saw it with your Proby. He was so excited, man. We just lifted this guy got run over by a car, and we lifted it was sitting on the guy's head. So we lifted the tire off the guy's head, and like after he got done, like his Proby smoked it. Like you could tell he's been well trained, he's put together. And then after, like, he was like, man, this is the funnest job on earth. You know, so, like.
He got done with it. We spread the car off, and he dragged him out. And he's like, that's the coolest thing I've ever done. He's like, I can't wait to tell my dad. And it's like, but don't be like, kid, that was nothing. Like, I was like, yeah, man, that was pretty cool. Like, definitely tell him, you know?
Yeah. Well, you mentioned earlier, Jake, there's a couple, like, rites of passage also, right? Like, there's some things you have to do when you're on probation, some things you're not allowed to do when you're on probation, and that those rules get lifted when you are done with your probation. What are some of those things?
So we have one of the main rules is you don't watch TV. We want all your time at the firehouse to be directed on studying and becoming part of the team and being better at that. Another rule that we have is no cell phone use before 6 p.m. After 6 p.m., you're allowed to use it for, to check in at home real quick or whatever you need to do, or, study stuff about the job. Now, with the cell phone rule, people's like, well, what if they die, or like, what if someone in their family dies or something? It's very clearly wrote that, they're supposed to, tell their family members between this hour and this hour, call the station.
Yeah.
And they'll get a hold of me. Yeah. So it's not like we're keeping them away for everything. This is just so we
They're not supposed to be playing on TikTok. They're supposed to be studying their probation.
This is so we can have their attention a little better to get them through this 6-month thing. Little stuff like we don't like our probies use a dishwasher. We think, like the old school stuff, you wash the dishes by hand, earn your keep there. Yep. So little stuff like that. What do y'all have going on?
With the blue shirt, so you gotta wear a blue Class B shirt with your badge and name tag.
The button down.
The button down shirt from hours of 0800 to 6 o'clock, and my Proby wears it till the next morning. I think he sleeps in it, to be honest.
There's been a couple that do that.
He came to me and he said, sir, like, do I take it off at 6? I was like, I'm going to leave that up to you. And he's like, I'm just going to leave it on. But I like we do the dishwasher thing. He doesn't sit at the table until invited. He'd make sure everything's squared away for the meal before he sits down. And the phone thing is really big. My Proby is, I told him what I did when I was a Proby, so he does it. He locks his phone away in his locker, so there's no temptation. I mean, especially, my Proby's 18 years old. You think he doesn't want to pull out his phone and watch TikTok? Yeah. But I think the biggest thing with that, people are like, that's kind of ridiculous. Okay, but if I let him be on his phone and we're driving down the road back from a call or whatever, he's going to be glued to that looking at his phone and not looking around and getting familiar with the city, or even just talk. We like to hang out and talk in the truck. Like, he could be talking to us, asking questions.
I talk about that. You might have heard me tell that story before, but like, this is like 2008 or something. Like the iPhone is like a year old or something. I don't know. And I was riding in the back of a ladder company in DC. the middle of the night and this box goes out, and so it'll be two of us in the back, right? And so, we go into a box or second due, so it's a couple minutes away or whatever. And so I finish getting dressed, and then I finally look over, and the dude riding the hook position is sitting there playing on his phone. And it struck me later that it was bad that he was playing on his phone on the way to a box. This is also 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And so what that meant is, like, when the bells rang and the lights came on, the first thing he thought was like, oh shit, I better bring my phone.
You better get my phone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that was 20 years ago. You know what I mean? It's way worse now, I think.
Oh yeah, it's bad.
But I think that, when people talk about that, like washing the dishes, making the pot of coffee, not sitting down until asked, I think people at first glance think that what we're doing there is you're hazing somebody, or they're being subservient or something like that. That's not what it's about. It's about, earning your spot, and it's about showing respect to the senior members and the organization that's been there a long time before you. And I think that, like, there is something to that, like, something is worth what you pay for it.
Yep.
Right? Like, what does it say about the organization if Jake's worked here for 20 years and I've worked here for 20 seconds, and I can sit down next to him and play on my phone while he's washing his dishes?
Yep.
What does it say? You know what I'm saying? And so it's not about, like, establishing a second-class citizen or anything like that. It's about, teaching respect, and it's about, respecting those that came before you, and respecting the organization, and earning your seat. And because there are rules on them, and because probation is tough, people don't pass all the time.
That's right.
Most people fail a test at least once, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, especially the month 6. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at least once they're failing a test. And some people are failing once or twice. They get 4 attempts per month. Some people are going through 2 attempts, and they're struggling to get through, because it is not a gimme. It is not a gimme process. And that's why I've seen what you've seen, Jake. I've seen people come out of the kitchen after testing screaming like Hulk Hogan, ripping their blue shirt off.
There's been some blue shirts.
I'm sure logistics doesn't like that.
We've seen people during their written exam or their verbal exam sit there and, like, throw up. I mean, it's not throw up because they're so nervous because the pressure of it, but, like, because that's how much it means to people.
Well, that's the thing is that's what I think is when they're exhibiting that stress or that success, or the happiness when they're successful, it's not because they're like, F this, I'm done with it. Like, they're proud of themselves. Yep. They're proud of themselves that they accomplished it. They showed up, they worked hard, some of them struggled through it, and they earned it. And I think that's what inspires loyalty, is when you have to earn it. You know what I mean? If you just, like I said, if you just get to sit down at the table and you're on the same playing field as the 25-year guy on day one, like, I just don't think that's right. No. I think, we're not hazing, we're not making second-class citizens, but you should have to earn your spot at that table.
Yep. And the loyalty thing, like, every department, everyone watching right now, the turnover rate in the fire service. Like, every department goes through it. I've seen people stay longer and not just be a turnover when they've had to earn it, when they had to earn their spot. Because then it's like, I worked this hard to ride this truck. Am I really going to leave and start over again?
It's fun, too. Like, even the crews are happy. Like, when my guys come off probation, I'm ecstatic. Like, I'm hugging them. Like, you want to see a wild night at the bar, let a Proby come off probation. And, like, there's some dogs that come out. Like, we're happy for them, It ain't like we're rooting against them. Like, they've now shown to us, and they've shown that they have the skills. Like, like, it makes us, like, proud.
We give them gifts.
Yeah, it makes us very proud. Yeah. Very proud of them.
That's a good night when that happens. Steak dinner, like, that's just a good night.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we kind of talked a lot about the probationary process. Like, we got, maybe another 30 minutes or so to get into stuff here. Let's talk about some stuff like, what advice would you give to somebody that is on probation, or is, thinking about becoming a firefighter, or might be in the academy right now? What kind of do's and don'ts would you guys give them?
Don't get comfortable too quickly.
Yeah.
No, it's not the subordinate thing or the second-class citizen thing, but know your place and know that you're there to earn, your crew's respect and prove yourself. And don't get comfortable. You're not, when dinner's over and everyone's shooting the crap at the table, it's not your place yet to join in on that just yet, unless they've really invited you in and added you to it. Like, you need to be up and doing your own thing.
Yep.
Because you just see when people get comfortable too quick, they start to decline into their give a crap.
Like, they let their guard down.
They let their guard down, and I've seen it time and time again. That's big advice to me. Just don't get comfortable too quickly.
Yeah. Another thing too is when you're in, probation, or you're in the academy or wherever you're at, and you learn a new skill. Well, the moment you learn that skill, you're just now mediocre at it. So now you need to, be proficient in that skill and keep training on that skill and keep being better at that. I think a lot of times we learn how to do something in the fire service, and what do? We never touch it again. Right? That's not what is going to make you well-rounded as a probationary firefighter. Get to the basics, stick with them, keep practicing them, and keep being better at them, and respect yourself and respect the men that's around you, because those men around you went through the same thing that you're going through now. They had to earn their place in the firehouse, and they had to earn their keep. So respect the ones that's come before you. I think a lot of times people get, like you said, the big head, a little uncomfortable. They start having a little disrespect about them. Keep the respect, number one, and your mindset. Don't quit, don't stop, and don't fail. Give it all you've got, and eventually it will come. You've got to have that mindset of whatever is in front of me, I'm going to get through it. Whether I have to get a sledgehammer and beat through a wall, I'm going to get to where I'm supposed to be. Like, the mindset is huge. You've got to have that mindset.
And I think you just got to know, like, unless the crew you get assigned is a bunch of psychopaths, none of them are looking for you to fail. They all want you to be a part of them. Like, I want my Proby one day to be the guy that's at my baby shower, at my wedding, whatever. You know what I mean? I want him to be a part of my family. And so, like, just know your crews are thinking the same thing about they want to invest in you. And when they're giving you a hard time, it's because they want you to be the best version of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think, two of the biggest times I think that you're looking at what people are doing, or some of the stuff I think out is like that whole morning routine. Yeah. Like so we shift change, for everybody listening, we shift change at 8 in the morning. So like that 8 to 10-ish kind of thing where, we're checking out the rig, assuming duty, getting ready for the day, all that kind of thing. What are your expectations of the probationary firefighter in the morning cycle? You know what I'm saying?
Specific to the truck for me, specifically my rookie, like, my expectation of him is like, well, one, he brings me a white Monster Energy drink every day. I gotta have that. And some Zins.
If you were trying to be old school, you get like a cup of coffee in a styrofoam cup or something.
Yeah. Okay. No, we go with the Monster there.
Right.
But like, all jokes aside, he has to put his gear on the truck, do his normal thing. But like, it isn't just the water can's there. Every morning he's checking the pressure of the can. Every morning he has to clean all of his tools. Like, he's back in our back garage polishing his irons. He's checking off the rabbit tool in the commercial bag. He's just deep dive. I don't want to see him just looking at stuff. And then, he's forcing doors every morning. He's stretching. And I think just setting him up that early in the day of doing those little, minute things really gets his brain going of how the whole day is going to go.
Talk about that, because people don't know our firehouse. They don't know your firehouse about, what you have available to you, about that morning door force I see you guys doing, or the morning stretch stuff. Kind of talk about that a little bit, what you mean by that.
Yeah, in our back garage, we have like a whole like workbench area, and that's where you can polish your tools and all that in our gym. But then we've got a forcible entry door, and it's with unlimited amount of wood. Basically, you'd have to force 100 doors to go through that wood. And
I went through it when I was on probation. I went through it a couple times.
But he can go back there every morning and force a door, and that's what I expect to see. That is his. I think make it about what you're. We're grateful that, if you're riding an engine, you're gonna be pulling lines and fighting fire. If you're riding my truck and you're the irons, your job is gonna be force a door and serve. So every morning I want him to do something related to that, to have his brain flowing and wake up and like, this is what your job is today. But yeah, that, and then, help us out with stuff. After he gets that stuff done, if I'm checking off the saws, he'll come help me and everything. And all that does is show me like he cares. Mm-hmm. He cares to. And then what it turned into last shift is he was like, what's this on the saw? And it turned into, we took the whole saw apart and it became a whole thing.
Yeah.
We have something, very similar to that where our Probies do, if you're on the truck, you're forcing the door every day, but we also empty the ladder bed every day as well. That's something I think Captain Burgess started when I was on probation and so every morning our Probies will empty the entire ladder bed, and that's from the 16 to the 35. And people's like, you got a one-man person throw a 35. Well, I've got a Proby that's 2 weeks out of the academy throwing it every morning, not complaining. So kind of the basic things they're gonna have to do. Like if you're on the engine, you're stretching every day. Like it's kind of like the buy-in to the shift. You get on the truck, you check off your immediate stuff, you get a stretch or you get a force or you get a ladder throw or something. Then you've now bought into the shift and you can get into the day.
Yeah.
Mask ups,
yeah. Yep. That kind of stuff.
I remember when I was a Proby on Engine 3, like I had to stretch every single line on the truck. Not only was it to practice stretching, but we repacked all the lines every morning to our specification.
Right.
And that's buy-in.
And that's just the minimum we require. That's not our daily training. That is what we call our buy-in to get on the shift.
Yep.
Right. To be able to work today.
Yeah.
You're forcing a door, throwing a ladder, all that. But what you find is these people, they get into that, and then, after you've done some training or something, you look out the back window or something, they're out there throwing ladders, forcing doors, stretching lines.
So here's the $1 million question, and this is for me now, and you can be honest. Did I make you guys do this shit? Because like when I go out there and like the world, I think thinks that I'm sitting up there in an ivory tower in the chair, like drinking my coffee with my pinky out, like looking at the minions. There they go, taking all the hose off the fire truck. Like
no.
Nope.
You've never once said that we had to do any of this.
No.
It's
so
just
why do y'all do it?
Because we want to be great. We want to chase. We not only like we're never gonna be great, right? We're never gonna be perfect, but we want to be a part of that chase to where you chase it, knowing that we'll never get it. But it's just it betters yourself every day. I mean, it don't matter if you've been on the truck for 8 years, 10 years, 15 years. If you force doors every day, you're gonna stay proficient at it. If you don't force doors every day, you're not gonna be proficient at it. It's just plain and sense. If I go and stretch a line today, but I don't stretch a line for another 6 years, I'm not gonna be good at stretching lines.
Yeah.
You have to stay good at this stuff.
My Proby knows at 8-10 a.m. me and him could be in zero viz pulling a bariatric patient out a window. Like and all the things he's doing in the morning is setting himself up for that.
Yeah, we used to ask, we have, the morning meetings with the Probies, and, Captain Burgess always used to ask, like, what did you do to prepare yourself for at, 0, 8, 10, you're going to the worst offensive fire with people trapped in a mayday. What did you do? And the answer is, well, did you hydrate last night or did you stay up drinking Jack all night?
Yeah.
Like, which one was you? And that's a hard reality to ask yourself. I've been on shift for 10 minutes. I didn't work out yesterday. I drank way too much beer yesterday. I ate too much junk food yesterday. I stayed up all night talking to girls. Like, whatever it is, what is contributing to my, this fire in 10 minutes?
Well, and not to rewind and go back to probationary stuff, but like, what about when the probationary guy's not yours? Like the other day,
happens a lot.
The other day you were working on lateral, like Sunday night or whatever. We had that fire. You were working on overtime or a trade or something.
Rookie.
Yeah, so you're working a trade. You had an overtime captain or somebody. The captain wasn't the regular captain, and you had the rookie in the back, right? So does that rookie get a day off because none of their regular leadership is there? Or?
So it depends. Me and Lemus has worked together for a really long time. If I know it's his rookie and I'm working with him, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be your boss today. Same rules. Because I know his rules. He went under my rules. So I know that he's doing the same things that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Right? But if it's someone completely new, like I had last shift, if I have someone new in my truck, I'm going to, once we get everything going in that morning, first thing I'm doing, I'm having a one-on-one conversation with them. Like, hey, welcome to our truck. This is some things that we stand on. This is some things that we believe in. When we go to a fire, if we're the first engine, I want you to come off and hold it on your shoulder until I make my 360, because then I'll tell you where to take that line. So I have to be up front and tell them those things because I'm not with them every day.
Yeah. So
I do that with just even if they're not on probation now. Like tomorrow, I'm getting floated out to ride as captain on rescue too. Like I'm gonna have a conversation in the morning with the guys. Like, this is what I'm thinking. What are y'all thinking?
Yeah.
Right. But I would say, like, if I'm floating and I got another captain's guy, I'm not going to be lax on them, but I'm also not going to be, I'm not really in charge of them. So I'm going to give them advice. I'm going to teach them what I can, but I'm not going to set complete, like I'm not going to go, hey, at 9 o'clock, the trash better be out, like stuff like that. Like they're not my guy. I'm not going to give them a
You want to focus on like skill-based things rather than this is what you're going to do every day.
Yes. One thing I love to do if I have a new guy is when they come up, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel their captain has started, right? I just like to ask them, hey, you know, I hope you're enjoying it here. What would you like to work on today? Because that's going to tell me what they're struggling with, because they're going to tell me that's what they want to work on. And then we'll go into the day of working on that.
Well, so, all right, back to the advice for the rookies or for the probationary guys. We were talking about like the morning, you know, what to do in those first few minutes in the firehouse kind of thing. How about like around, and you were talking about the rig. How about around the firehouse? What is the expectation of what that probationary firefighter is doing around quarters?
I can tell you, my guy knows if he's got time to sit down and goof off, he's got time to either be in the bay training or keeping up the firehouse. And it's not the second class citizen thing. It's just earn your spot, show your thing, and that's what he knows. And you know, there is time. You're there for 24 hours. He knows, like he better be training. He better be upkeeping the house. He better be coming and just asking me questions, keep me involved. I love it. Like everyone likes their little safety nap and all that. Well, I like when my safety nap, I don't get it for the day because we're out training, because the Proby wants to learn something, you know.
And then getting there, like when they get there in the morning, they get like, you'll see a lot of the really motivated ones. They'll go ahead and they'll get their gear. Like it's an hour before shift change, but they got their gear set aside, ready. You know, if something's come out. And then they get on, you know, the morning of getting the flag up, you know, putting the flag up, doing the manning boards, getting coffee on, doing stuff like that, you know, looking around, cleaning up something if they need to, little stuff like that.
I wanted to say one expectation we're doing on Ladder 1A, and it was even a thing with Ladder 1B, is we said for the Proby, he has to come up with a station project and a truck project. So he's got to make the truck better in some way, a decal, whatever he comes up with, something, his little thing to show pride. And then around the station, so he's came up with that we're going to paint the stairwell. And so that's the little stuff he's doing. He's beginning work on that, and it's just that if 10 years from now, my Proby sees the stairwell he helped come up with, that's going to give him a sense of pride and like, this is my house, this is my firehouse. Stuff like that. But
are you doing anything like that, Jake?
Yeah, that's something that we've done.
You guys doing the same kind of thing?
I think mine was the axe, right?
I think yours is the axe, and we kind of give that, you know.
I know you said some of these kind of things earlier, but are there any things that you would tell these probationary firefighters not to do or to avoid? Like if that's the stuff that here's what you should do.
Yeah, drama. Stay out of drama. So everyone knows you're in the wrong firehouse, you might be on an episode of Days of Our Lives. Like that shit can get so dramatic so fast. Stay out of that. Focus on the job.
Keep things within your company.
Keep things within your company. And if you got a problem, like if you're a probationary firefighter, we have one rule on our truck. If you got a problem with your captain, you got a problem with your senior guy, you got a problem with anyone on your company, you go to them. Go to them in a private setting. Because I tell you, like, since I've been a supervisor with the truck I'm on the interim role now, my firefighter knows if he's got a problem with me, he can come up to the office, shut the door, and he can cuss me out all he wants. But don't do it in public. You know, say whatever you want to say to him. Just be a man and go up to him, tell him the problem. Don't get caught up in the drama, and don't talk bad about your crew.
We've always said, like, on internal there could be some problems going on, but external no one would even know. Like no one knows there's drama going on in the company right now, and like you don't want there really never is. But
if you do, you keep it in house.
We keep it in house, and we've done really good at that. If anything's ever come up, the other thing is too, like my rookie knows if the guy he relieved messed something up on the truck, he does not need to complain to that guy and make a deal out of it. He can come to me and be like, "Hey, this happened. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna fix it ourselves and leave it be."
What about on the Fireground? Are there, you know, this is kind of a loaded question. Do you have a different expectation or different set of rules for the probationary firefighter on the Fireground than you do for a regular firefighter, or somebody that's off probation?
So I can tell you what I've had to ride the. If I'm driving, he's not my guy on the Fireground. But I've rode captain with my guy, and then we are an inside.
Because for
team
you,
together.
just so everybody knows, you're going to be the outside crew. You're on a ladder truck, and the firefighter in the back's going with the captain as the iron. So you're not going to have to deal with them because you're going to be doing a different task.
Yeah, but what I've told, I don't like the whole hop in my pocket thing. Hey, don't do anything until I tell you to do it. Like, then we're just creating robots. Yeah. The speech I gave my guy the morning I rode with him the first time as the inside crew is I said, you're going to be an independent firefighter. I was like, but we're going to work together. I was like, you're going to make decisions. You can suggest things to me. When we go so one of my big things is split versus leapfrog is like, he knows if conditions are bad, I'm going to tell him and say, hey, we're probably going to be staying together pretty close on this search. This is spicy. Or, hey, we're going to split off from each other. I trust him. I've taught this guy how to search. So I'm going to say, hey, we're going to split hallways together, and you go in there if the conditions, are dependent on that. But I like independent firefighters. I don't like the whole, the captain is this whole wise wizard that is the best firefighter ever. Like, no, you're both, when you're inside the house on fire, you're both firefighters.
That's why I think what you're saying, I think it's a priority that when you have a probationary firefighter, you have to teach them how to think and not what to think. Because you don't want that robot effect. And the moment they just know what to think, they turn into robots. They got to know how to think, and you got to be on the same page about it.
When you throw a curveball, they're going to freeze.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, people probably know if they've listened to the show before and everything. We're a pretty policy-driven department. We have standard operating guidelines that describe, the predetermined assignments for the apparatus, and there's a trickle down for that, where then there's riding assignments on each one of them, and so if you're the second due OV or the first due irons or the second due nozzle, you kind of know what you're going to do. And I would imagine that regarding the probationary firefighters, your job is probably is it something more like, okay, what the second due OV is supposed to do, so do that. But you're not going to get wild getting outside of that box. Whereas if you're the senior member and you've got a little bit more time on, you might be able to get a little bit more creative in a position. Is that kind of how you're communicating that to them?
100%. Yeah. You'll know whenever the handcuffs are off of you, because we'll make it known to you.
The one of the big things too is, like, you ever seen the guy, the captain's gone, so like the scenario I was telling my guy is, you roll up, there's nothing but fire on the alpha side. Well, new guy is going to go, well, I've been taught to run in the front door. So he's going to stand there in the front yard and go like, yep, I can't really go in there yet.
Yeah.
So I told my guy, I said, if we pull up and there's nothing but fire blowing out of the front, you go ahead and run to the back. I was like, the back door's good. Go ahead and force it. See what you got. I was like, the back door's bad. Then go pick a window. I'll meet up with you. I'm going to be in the same mindset. And that's just, I want my guy, when he pulls up, to go, I know what's going on. I don't have to go in through the front door.
Right.
Yeah, don't have to, because the first objective of the Irons firefighter we teach is to get the engine in.
Yep.
Well, in a case like that, you're teaching them how to think. Don't got to get the engine in. The fire's out here.
On to the next step. Yeah.
On to the next. That's how when you go into teaching them how to think and not what to think. If you just teach them what to think, which is get the engine in, they're going to be sitting there.
You want your guy to be better than you. I want my Proby to be better
Always.
and smarter than me.
Yeah, and that's how you should train them, and that's how I do train. I want to be better than me.
It goes back to the gatekeeping thing. I'm never going to gatekeep knowledge from my guy.
No, that's some people I think do that, and that is so insane to me. They're like, well, I ain't going to tell you,
because they want to be better, or they want to be seen higher. No, man, you should be the same.
Yeah, it's firefighting, like.
So awesome. Well, we've been talking about this for a little while. I want to I'm going to give you kind of my wrap up thoughts, and then I'll kind of toss it around to you guys. Meaning, you guys have heard this before, but for those listening, I have kind of always looked at, as kind of with what you guys were just saying is ultimately what we want to do is we want to teach people not what to do, but how to think. And I don't mean that the bad way when we're telling you how to think. But what I mean is we want you to be able to think about what you're supposed to do here and understand the Fireground and be able to come up with the right solution. And, so I kind of a long time ago got inspired with these 5 general orders. And these are kind of what I want all of our members to know what I really want all of our members to think about, whether they're on the Fireground or off the Fireground. And I've kind of found good success that if you follow these ideas, you're probably going to go down the right path. And if you didn't, you're probably going to be in a pretty defendable position, right? Show up to the firehouse, give 100% every day. I'm a pay attention to detail, like we were talking about earlier. I think the detail, the devil's in the details. The details are the most important thing that we do. Take care of each other, put others above yourself, and remember that failure is not an option, right? You can't give up, whatever it is. You got to get the job done, whether that's mopping the floor or forcing a door. You don't find a cop out. You don't give up. Your job is your job. You figure out how to get it done. And I think that is, whether when you do that or when you don't do that, that's when others really see who you are as a firefighter. But, those are kind of my 5 rules that I would tell any probationary firefighter to look at following. But any other thoughts from you, Jake?
All I know is what I took away from my probationary period is you're going to find out who you are, and you're going to figure out what you are, and you're going to become what you're going to become when no one is looking. Don't be out trying to look good for your crew. Do the right thing when no one's around, because the moment that you start looking for attention, I'm telling you, they're going to catch on to it, and you're going to be cooked.
Yeah. Well, that's like the definition of integrity, isn't it? Yeah. Right? What you do when nobody else is looking, right? Lambus, what you got?
Yeah, it all falls back on to just every day. I'm just going to talk about the mentorship, like just invest everything you have into these guys. These are the future. I mean, you're going to retire. They're going to be there. They're going to be in charge of a company one day, and they're going to be the guy mentoring the next guy. So lay the foundation for that and give them all you've got. That's really all it takes.
Yeah.
And if you don't know something, if you don't know something, find the answer. Get the best guy at that topic in to teach them, and then you're going to learn something yourself.
Yeah. Well, I think that's key there, that whole mentorship thing. I think I've said it before on another show or whatever, but you talk about legacy in the fire service, and I think everybody wants to be a good firefighter, and everybody wants to leave a good legacy, right? Yeah. And of course, I think your legacy, your legacy will be you. I mean, there will be stories about what you did or who you were or whatever, but I think your real legacy is in the people that you mentored, in the people you taught, in the people that you brought up, because they're going to be there after you're gone, and they're going to be going to fires and making grabs in some cases when you're dead. And you've heard it in some of the stories that I've talked about with Pete or Mick or some of the guys that mentored me, and those guys aren't around anymore, and there are generations of firefighters that are out there that are doing good things on the Fireground because of what a mentor, some of which are no longer alive, taught them to do. And I mean, that's, I say that when I talk about Mick all the time, Mick McKenzie, is, when you're making grabs years after you're dead because of what you taught somebody else, you've left a mark on the fire service. Yeah. Yep. And I think that's, that's the biggest thing about this probationary thing is it's not, it's not, you're not trying out to be in a fraternity. It's not a hazing thing. You're not a second-class citizen. There's a reason for this. There's a reason for the rites of passage. There's a reason for the rookie books. There's a reason that you are held to a different standard in some ways until you have earned your spot at the table and you've demonstrated that you know what you need to know. And that's some of why that we're doing that. So great conversation tonight. I appreciate you guys jumping on here with me and everything. I hope everybody out there got got some good tips, got some good things to think about or talk about the next day at the firehouse. As always, this is one of our open podcasts. We kind of alternate months. We have our private podcast also going on over on the Bay Floor. So if you haven't yet, check us out over on thebayfloor.com. It is our exclusive firefighting community where we're trying to get like-minded firefighters together away from the noise of the traditional social medias so that we can kind of talk shop and really kind of get into the details. And so if you like what you hear on here, make sure you join us over on the Bay Floor because there's a lot more of it going on there. So until next time, stay combat ready.